guys, and welcome back to another video. My name is Josh, and on the channel today we've got another podcast style episode. We've got Lars Born on, who's a UK based content creator and someone that I've been watching for coming up to a year now. His videos are really inspiring. He initially started off by doing reselling content and he's gone on to van life. He moved into his micro camper van with absolutely no money and started traveling the UK and going on adventures. Honestly, I used to watch his videos when I was working my 9-to-5 job as an accountant, and he made me just want to quit and just live this amazing life that he was living. Honestly, he's a really inspiring guy, and we've got a lot of similar views on a lot of things, so I'm really looking forward to getting into a conversation with him. As I said, I'm going to leave all his links in the description, so if you haven't watched any of his previous videos, go and make sure to check them out. And as I say, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, I'd be really appreciated. So we're going to jump across the laptop now and get on a call with him. Right. Hi Lars, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I've already said this a bit before, but I really appreciate you taking the time and effort to come on the podcast. It really means a lot. But for anyone to start with who's maybe not watched any of your content, I'm sure they have, because I'm sure they've probably come from your social platforms. But if they've not watched any of your content or they don't know who you are, can you just give a little bit of an overview into who you are and what you do?
Of course. Well, first off, Josh, thanks for having me on the podcast. And second off, hey dudes, how's it going? I'm Lars, I'm 24 and I live in a van, and that's probably where you know me from. I used to buy and sell furniture, so I started off with that, and then van life, and recently been on a Defender tour, so that's where you may have seen me.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching you, as I said, I've been watching your content for a long time, and I've gone through all the different phases of the reselling to the van life, and now you're sort of going a bit more into the spiritual stuff, and who knows, I will get into this a bit later down the podcast of what the future holds for you. But if you could just give a little bit of context into sort of your early years, your upbringing, where you're from, all that side of things that sort of made you the person you are, I guess, today.
Yeah, so I guess growing up was quite a challenging life. I grew up in a foreign school, and I wasn't very accepted. I didn't have many friends. I didn't get on all that well with people in general, really. And I was very different. I always felt different. I didn't know why. And then I kind of ended up, going through school, not many friends, towards the end of it, doing all right, making a few friends. And then I left the country, and then I came back to the UK. And then long story short is I was told to go to college, which I really didn't like. I don't really personally believe in the education system all that much. Bit controversial here, but it's my beliefs. And then I ended up taking a job and working more at the job than I did actually on my studies, because again, I wasn't too fussed. And then I always had that kind of like desire, that entrepreneurial mind in me to be like, well, at some point I want to start a business. I want to make money by myself and not work in a job. And then, long story short, I ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, starting a few businesses, failing many times. I started up a YouTube channel that I did nothing with. And then I ended up used to buy and sell phones on the side. And then that kind of turned into a little bit more of a hustle. And then I started doing bikes. And then, lockdown hit, and I ended up doing that full time and doing quite well out of it, really. And the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly. I think, obviously, I know you from your content, but you have had a few different businesses there. So if you go into maybe when you were growing up, what sort of businesses were you doing? Just for anyone watching that maybe wants to make a start on some sort of business, they don't really know what to do. What could you advise people to get going on straight away?
I think necessarily picking the right business isn't the right idea. I think find something that you kind of enjoy and see if you can turn it into a business, but also fail fast. Do as many things as you can. When I was growing up with my parents, I used to work on a car boot sale store with them. So I used to go around and try and find little knickknacks I could flip. And that's probably where I got the hustle culture in me in the beginning. Because I used to buy literally little coasters for 50p and sell them for £2 or £3. And that was my pocket money. And then I used to get like £5 for helping my parents for the whole day. That was harder than the flip. So I thought, well, if I can do a few more flips, I won't have to actually work as hard as my parents. That was my idea, but it didn't ever work out. So I think if you pick a business, it's maybe just something that you kind of enjoy and you can see yourself doing for the long term, because that's where you're going to get the best results from. But if it doesn't work, don't just stick at it for the sake of it. Stick at it because you want to, I think. And then just take those skills across to something else. That's what I would say. Definitely.
I think what a lot of businesses that people want to start, they maybe see it as like too high barriers to entry. They think, I don't have the knowledge, I don't know how to get that going. But I'd say even if you just start with something basic like the reselling or any sort of business, you're learning some sort of skills, whether that be sales or, marketing, anything. You're learning some sort of skills that later down the line, even content, you're learning filming, you're learning editing. There's so much value in that. And obviously, I just think once you've learned them skills, are so transferable into all walks of life.
Every day's a school day, and everything you learn will set you up. Maybe not today, but it will set you up at some point in your life, and it will set you on good stead as well. So 100%, man.
What I've heard you speak Spanish. Are your parents Spanish, or are you from the UK, or what's sort of the story with that?
No, so I grew up in Spain, so I do speak Spanish. My parents speak it half decently, not the best, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really use it all that much anymore, to be fair, because I don't really connect to the Spanish world that I had so much anymore. But yeah, it's a cool skill to
I
have.
mean,
I will
yeah,
say.
definitely. I wish I could speak Spanish. I mean, it's a pretty cool language to be able to just speak. And I guess when you do any traveling going forward, you've got a lot. There's a lot of countries that also speak Spanish, so you've got that straight away. You can connect with them. So when you were growing up, what sort
Absolutely.
of were your dreams and your sort of your aspirations? When you were growing up, what did you think you'd end up doing, or were you totally not sure?
I wanted to be a business owner. So whenever I was at school, like school always asks you, so what do you want to be when you're old? Do you want
Yeah.
to be an astronaut? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be a doctor? All my friends knew they wanted to be, doctors, accountants, kind of like yourself, and other
Oh,
sort of
don't talk about that.
and other kind of jobs. And then I was like, well, I just want to own a business. And I remember going up to class with my sort of like piece of paper that said I wanted to be a business owner. And the teacher just looking at me and saying, be realistic. What do you actually want to do? And I'm like, I want to own a business. And they were like, yeah, but that's not realistic. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to own a business. That's what I want to do. Why are you telling me it's not? So I wasn't having it. So I kind of took that almost, you could say, I wouldn't say it's aggression, but I took that energy with me as if to say, I'm going to prove the whole world wrong now because I'm going to own a business one day and I'm going to just, kind of like show it in their face. I've let that go now. I've become a bit more humble, but that's kind of what gave me the firecracker to be like, right, I'm going to prove the world wrong and I'm going to be a business owner. I failed my school really badly. I didn't like it. I used to make fun of all the terrible results I used to get. I used to go home on the bus laughing, thinking it was a joke. And the only thing that made me feel some element of guilt was my parents. When I used to get home, they used to be like, I'm very disappointed in you. And I'm sure a lot of people can understand where I'm coming from here, because apparently results are very important. But learning something to write down on a piece of paper, in my opinion, isn't all that important. It's more about becoming street smart and life smart, because school's going to teach you some skills, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to teach you how to succeed in life. You learn that by yourself. So I can't remember where we're going with this, but yeah.
I think it was like your dreams growing up, but you said like a business owner, yeah.
Yeah, being a business owner, that's it. And then I really wanted to be a digital nomad. I think the first business I came across online was dropshipping. So I spoke to my parents about it and they said, oh, that's a scam. Don't go doing that. That's never going to work. Please don't do that. So I never really pursued it until I was about 15 or 16. And then I still didn't really understand it or the concept of it. And then one day something clicked and I tried it. And I made a couple of sales and I was like, this is possible. You can actually make money online. I didn't make very much. I probably ended up losing money from the adverts and stuff, but I made a couple sales and I was like, wow, okay, this is possible. And then that's kind of where I started just being like, well, I want to start a YouTube channel and do all this stuff. And it's taken me, 4 years to get to this point. But that was kind of my idea, just becoming a freelance digital nomad, really.
Definitely. I mean, I was the exact same as you. Like growing up through school, I didn't do too bad at school because, it's all just on memory, having a good memory. That's it, basically. But I think I did well because I didn't care. Like I knew that grade would never determine what the future held for me. I was the same as you straight away. I always wanted my own business. I knew straight away that grade would never reflect. I didn't care about going to uni. At school when they're pushing uni, it just did my head in. I just switched off straight away when they started talking about that because I knew I wasn't willing to get into debt for something that, to learn business where I knew the practical experience means so much more.
100%. Just while we're on this topic, actually, for anyone watching at home, just because we talk about not being good at school doesn't mean that you should go and fail school and do terrible at school to be a business owner. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm simply saying also to people that enjoy school, if that's your thing and you like it, hats off to you. Like if you figured it out and you've cracked the code, cool beans. But it's not the end of the world if you get a bad grade at school. It's not going to ruin the rest of your life. And that's one thing I really dislike about the schooling system, is it instills anxiety and a lot of fear into kids that if they don't get the result that they need, that's their life over. And it's really not. Actually, if anything, it could be the best thing that ever happens to you. So just keep that in mind. Keep an open mind towards everything, I think. And just because you don't do well at school, it's not the end of the world.
Definitely. Like my girlfriend, for example, very, very good at school, like uni, top grades, all that sort of stuff. First, she's gone on to use that degree in like quite a practical manner. So I'm not saying for some people, it definitely is the right thing to do. If you need to be a doctor, anything like that, you need, them qualifications. But if you look at some of the top business owners, it's because they didn't have a choice. They couldn't get that top job. So they've gone on to start their own business. And, that's where they've actually succeeded. And, the people they're employing now are the ones with the qualifications or whatever. And they're pretty, unemployable, really. But when you're growing up,
I think it's the same as you, Josh. Sorry, just on that point is the same thing as you. I think the best skill you can learn is sales, because it's not just selling items or things to people. It's selling yourself. And if you want to get a good job, a well-paid job, you can have a degree, 100%. But I've always coached my friends to be like, it doesn't matter if you have the degree. It's a piece of paper that suggests that you can retain information to do that job. But what an employer really cares about is whether you can deliver results, as you know. So if you can deliver a result to a company, you're going to be far more valuable than someone with a piece of paper. And if, as long as you can show that to the company, you're more likely going to get hired. That's what I think anyway. And that's what I've always done. I've always gone for jobs that I wasn't qualified for. And I seem to always get them because I was very good at selling myself. So it's like a skill that if you can learn that, it will set you up for life in many other areas, not just, sort of selling things.
I mean, I've not done anything formal, like formal sales job or anything, but sales is like the most, because realistically, if you all have the same piece of paper, who cares? It's what you say to them in the actual interview or in a meeting when you're trying to win a client, anything like that. It's literally just who they're going to judge. They don't, as soon as you get in that room, they do not care about any of your previous experience. It's basically, they just judge you based on that first meeting of how you look, how you sound, what you talk about. That is the most important thing, definitely. So when you were growing up, what was your first sort of job sort of out of, so you went to school and did you do college, uni? What was sort of your first steps out of that?
Yeah, I did college. I studied, for anyone curious, I did business enterprise, Spanish, IT, and sports and exercise science. If I'll be honest with you, business was an absolute waste of time because I didn't learn anything. The only thing I did learn was the difference between a liability and an asset, which you can learn in any business book, or you can literally Google it and then you know it. Other than that, they just teach you terminology. And you've got to remember this, that at school, they don't teach from experience, they teach from a book, and book doesn't have experience. So keep that in mind as well. And everything else I learned at college was, I think the only other thing I really learned was how to get a job through my IT lesson. Everything else I kind of already knew. And it wasn't anything that I really look back now and go, wow, that was amazing, you know. But what was the other question you asked me? Was it about business?
I think it was just, what was your first sort of steps out of school? What did you do straight away?
Yeah. So when I left school, I came back to the country and then obviously went to college. And then I used to work in a retail shop. It's called Flying Tiger. I think that's what it's branded as now. So I worked there
not
for
heard of it, but
Have you not heard of Tiger? The little knick-knack shop?
I haven't heard of it.
Have
maybe
you
they're
not?
maybe they're not up north as much. I've not come across that.
Yeah, well, that was my first job, and I used to earn £5.50 an hour. And I used to think, well, if I can work like 80 hours a week, I'll be making bank. That's what I thought back then. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and was like, trading time for money. And I was like, this is actually really stupid. The more I work, I'm getting taxed on it anyway. So I'm actually not that better off. So I need to find a better way of earning money. And that's when the hustle kind of kicked in. And that's when I started flipping phones. And I remember my first phone, I was in a lesson in college. And I heard these two friends of mine talking about how one of them had got the latest iPhone. And I was like, oh, cool. And my brain went, what are you doing with the old one? And he said, oh, I don't know. I'm just throwing it in a drawer. And I was like, well, can I buy it? And he's like, why do you want to buy it? And I'm like, I think I said, my brother needs a new phone. Can I buy it? And he's like, well, the price is right. Why not? So I think I offered him 40 quid for an iPhone 4, I think it was back then. And I ended up selling it to someone for £60 about 2 days later. Oh, I thought 20 quid, that's pretty good. But it turns out that the phone was iCloud locked or something. So then I had to take it into the Apple store, give the people a refund. It was an absolute nightmare. It put me off doing it again. And then I basically left the phone in a drawer for a couple of months. And then something in me was like, oh, do you know what? Let's just see if we can resell it. So it was coming up to Christmas time. So I put it back up for sale. I ended up selling it for 90 quid. And I was like, hang on a minute. I've just turned my 40 into 90 quid, making nearly what I make at a full-time day at this Tiger thing. Can I do that again? And then I found another friend selling a phone. So I bought that and I sold that for a similar profit. And that's kind of where I got into this whole, okay, you can make a lot more money just selling something than working for another company.
Definitely. And before we, I guess, get on to a bit more of your story, do you think like an entrepreneur, do you think it's like, is like the nature and nurture? Do you think they're actually born, or do you think it's all based on experiences? What are your opinions on this?
I could see this question coming up, actually. It's a really tricky one, that, because I think some people have a lot more element of risk in them, but then there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have other skills. So I think it's a 50-50 split. I think part of you is going to be an entrepreneur because not everyone is. Not everyone wants a business. Some people just want to live, a life the way they want to live it, and that's cool too. So I think it's a 50-50 split, because we got asked this in college and I still don't know the answer to this one.
I don't know, because there's literally entrepreneurs in all different forms. You've got the techie sort of like very innovative ones, and they've just got the people who, no real skill, but they've just got that hard work and hustle. I mean, I think as well, a lot, as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to make my own money, always be my own boss. But then also a lot of it like is fueled by your experiences. Like I'm the same as you, come from very sort of middle class, I guess, family. I'm not saying we're nowhere near like poor or anything like that, but there was a lot growing up where it's like, oh, we can't do that. Money, money's tight. We can't do. And I guess them sort of insecurities, like when you become an adult, you don't want to, have them sort of issues yourself going forward. So I think there's definitely 100%. that sort of 50-50 50-50 split. So when did you?
Do you know what else
Sorry.
on that? Sorry, that's all right. On
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
topic,
go
I
on.
keep butting in. I feel like I'm a Gary Vee at this point, but butting in. But with I think parents growing up for me was a massive impact. Parents are very supportive, very amazing people, but they definitely instilled a very, very bad money belief into me, and into my family. And basically, money was very scarce in their mind. And the more you try and hang on to money, the more it runs away from you. That unless you really dive into that rabbit hole of money, that makes not a lot of sense. But money is abundant. It's literally everywhere. You can choose to make as much money as you want, and the more limits you set on the how much money you can make, the harder it is to make it, I think. So they used to always sort of instill like, £1,000 is a credible amount of money. It is, but when you start to really understand the power of money, £1,000 is a drop in the ocean in the grand scheme of things.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I think I've watched some of your videos on sort of this like abundance mindset and all this, but it's definitely true. Whereas, a lot of our parents who are, I guess, giving us opinions, advising us, they've always been like, right, I earn this amount. How can I make this stretch as far as possible? Whereas I
Yeah.
think mine and your mindset is very much like, well, how can we still live that life, but how can we earn more so we can, there's no sort of restrictions. Because for me, I always wanted to be in that, when I get older, I could take out all my family, friends, there's no sort of what's on the menu, what's the cheapest item. It's just get whatever you want.
What do we want? And you know what? I think that is exactly it. It's I can't remember where I was going with this point now, but it takes the same amount of energy to earn money as it does to save it. So if you worry about, say you earn £1,000 a month and you try and save £1,000 of income, you're saving 12 grand a year, providing you spend nothing. Why don't you just focus on trying to make 12 grand a month rather than trying to save 12 grand a year? It's a much better way of going about things. It's going to be a bit harder, mind, but in the long run, you'll end up far better off because you can't save yourself to riches. If you want to make lots of money and have a brilliant life financially, you can't save yourself to riches. And the wealth creation methods that worked back then don't work anymore. And that's something that I've struggled with because you've got parents telling you to buy a house because it's a really, really good buy and things. And that's how they made their money. But it doesn't work like that anymore because mortgage rates are ridiculous. And it's kind of all changed,
Definitely. So if we go back to a bit more of your story, so when you work in these sort of, I guess, same sort of me, Sainsbury's, them sort of low paid jobs, trading your time for money. When was that first leap where, I guess where we started watching you do the reselling full time and took that full leap into full time being self-employed?
Okay, so after Flying Tiger, I worked at a gym. So one of the people at Tiger, I think it was husband or partner at the time, he basically got me the job at the gym pretty much. So I got to give him a shout out for that. And then I worked there for 9 months and I really didn't like the manager. So I quit that. And then I went and worked at another gym. And then again, 3 months into that, didn't like that. So I left that. And then I worked for another gym, David Lloyd. And that's kind of where I found a travel video whilst I was there one day. Because I was making quite good money. But I was still like, this can't be it. This can't be life. Surely like working in an office cubicle for 40 hours a week, more like 60 to be fair, isn't really the life I wanted. So then I found a guy on YouTube that literally just said, I quit my job and moved to Thailand. And I was like, I want to do that one day. I'm going to do that. And then, ended up going about 6 months later to Thailand for 3 months and Vietnam and Bali. Had such amazing time, came back. And then I was going to move to Australia. And then I thought I'd take a bartender job, get some experience in this country so I can do bar work in Australia. And then about 6-7 months into it, that's when, COVID hit and I ended up getting stuck here. And then I thought, well, this isn't looking too promising, is it? But it was the best opportunity to set up a business because I had no distractions. I was down to my last 200 quid and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to put that 200 quid into me and just see what happens with it. So I ended up buying a really cheap little car, a little Peugeot 106 for, I think that was 200 quid. And then whatever else I had left, I think I must have had some coins or something kicking about my room, which was like the £10 I used to buy some bicycles. Bought that, flipped that, and then I just started flipping stuff. And that's when I really got into it. And then I started ditching the mindset of, I can only make like 100 or 200 a day. Can I make like a lot more? And then I ended up doing £1,000 in a week. And then I think my next biggest day was I did like £900 nearly in a day reselling on Facebook Marketplace. And I was like, well, do you know what? Whatever all my friends are telling me and everyone else is telling me about money, it's all wrong because I've literally just done that with free flips on Marketplace, secondhand furniture, really. So that's kind of where it happened, really.
I mean, that's impressive. I mean, I've done bits of reselling when I was growing up, same as you, but never them sort of numbers in a day or a week. Like they're pretty good numbers for reselling, especially sort of Facebook Marketplace reselling.
Yeah, cheers, man. It's just one of those things. I think anything is possible, providing you believe it is, and you don't listen to other people. It's like you wouldn't take financial advice from a broke person, the same way you wouldn't take life advice from a depressed or a miserable person. I'm not putting anyone down by saying that, but you just wouldn't, would you? So it's if your friends are working at a job and they're making, I don't know, £1,000, £2,000 a month, and they're trying to tell you that your £20,000 a month business isn't going to work, it's not going to work for them because they're not in that mindset to want to do that. But if you go and find a business owner that's making 20k a month and you talk to them, they're going to tell you it's possible because they're living proof they're doing it. So it's be very sensible about who you listen to, and be very sensible about what beliefs you take from other people, because a lot of people have such limited beliefs. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant, it's just the truth. The more you dive into this world of business, as I'm sure you know now, Josh, the more you realize it's possible. It's like people are lying to you. They're telling you a load of rubbish.
Definitely. And one thing I'd just add to that is when you're working for someone else and you're surrounded by sort of, I guess, other employees, like, don't get me wrong, I still got on with everyone, but their mindset is very like, when I was sort of working in the accountants, I started a side business, which one of my friends, like an events company, got that going quite well. But at the start, you've already got that self-doubt yourself. And then it's them just negative sort of comments and feedback and, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Why are you doing that? And I guess it's comes from a place of slight jealousy, maybe that they're not doing, you're doing something a bit extra. And I guess I've just found as soon as now leaving sort of the 9-to-5 life, like I'll go with an idea and no one's telling me that's a bad idea, or, because you've already got them self-doubts yourself. So you don't need, I guess, anyone else telling you.
Other people add into it. And do you know what I'll say to you is someone doing better than you will only encourage you. Someone doing worse than you will try and drag you down, because they don't necessarily, it's not they don't want you to do well, it's that they don't want to be left behind. So if you've got big ideas, just be very careful and cautious as to who you share them with. That's something I've learned.
Definitely. That's like I remember, so I landed my first client, messaged a few people that I used to work with. And you don't get me wrong, some of them were very supportive. But then a couple of people straight away like, well, how are you going to do that? That's not going to work, because straight away they've seen that you've got some sort of level of, I guess, small success. But the same with you, I don't think you can succeed with that mindset, because say, for example, me and you're way more successful in the content space. But, I would never, if you did something, I'd still be like, oh, well done, well done. I think you need that mindset of never bringing anyone down at all, always just encouraging other people.
100%.
And,
what you put out comes back to you. Whatever you put out energy-wise, it always comes back to you. So if you put out negative energy, it's going to come back to you at some point.
Definitely. We'll get onto this a bit later on in terms of negative comments and all that side of things. But it baffles me that people actually, spend the time to write a negative comment. Like, I don't think will never ever have wasted even if I don't like something, scroll on, I would never have wasted my time to try and bring someone else down, I guess.
Well, do you know what? It's not just that. It's like they're literally wiring their brain up for negativity, because your subconscious is taking that in and you're reprogramming your brain for negativity. The more actions you take in the negative space, the more negative you're going to become. And humans as a whole are wired up to be negative because we're survival animals, and that's how we were, designed to survive. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, to take the path of least resistance. So the more negative you comment, the more it comes back to you. So yeah, absolutely, man.
Definitely.
It's not worth it.
So if we go back to, so you're reselling, so you've quit, I guess after COVID, you moved to, where was it? Sorry, you moved somewhere. I saw on one of your videos.
Oh yeah, I moved up to Reading with my ex, that's right.
Right, okay. So you're doing full-time reselling. I saw you had like a locker there, you're full-time doing it. Was that enjoyable, or what was sort of the struggles with that? Or?
Yeah. Do you know what? I used to have this, I basically moved my business up from Exeter to Reading, and always looking really good. Still had my van and stuff. But the issue I found was I had a massive overhead. It went from, just me living at home and having my business expenses and a few expenses, personal ones, to not just that, but also the cost of the flat we were living in, which was like, I think we paid $850 a month in rent between us. And then we had council tax, which was nearly $300 a month. Then you've got bills on top of that, gas, electric, water, and internet and things. And it really added up quick. And my expenses before anything else was like $1,500 or $1,600 a month, which is a lot. And I wasn't making nowhere near that. So I actually ended up getting into the negative. And then because I was so like forceful of I need to make money, I actually ended up getting really miserable and depressed. So I ended up taking a part-time bartender job at a Wetherspoons up in Henley. And I lasted 3 weeks and I absolutely hated it. But before that, actually, the plan when we were moving to Reading was we were both going to get well-paid jobs, stack a load of cash, and then move over to Australia or Bali or something. And I took a job in recruitment. And I lasted a day and I walked out because I hated it. I could not stand it. I hated the culture, hated the people. I don't hate the people, that's a strong word. I disliked the people, but I really did not like the environment I was in and the people I'd surrounded myself with. And I was like, I'm walking out. So I just left.
Oh, really? I mean, that takes, I've never done that sort of stuff, but fair play. I mean, if you know what you want in life, then you're definitely on that right path. But that takes a bit of balls, I guess, the first day just to be like, I'm done.
It was just like, I can't see myself putting my energy into this. And before, I haven't signed a contract yet, so I don't owe the company anything. I haven't even done the training really. I haven't done anything. I can see this isn't for me. They put me on a really good tier. So I was on like a really good pay packet and everything. And I was on one of the best commission structures in the company because they saw something in me, but I was like, I don't see where this is going. And I also can't do the job I'm told to do. So the idea was you are supposed to get the client, which is like the business, if you will, a worker, and then you try and get the worker the best rate possible, but then you also try and cut off their weight. So you ask the business for maximum money, you get as much money for the person working for them, but then you take the cut in between. And that didn't sit well with me. I'm not about to, like, you know, if you will, mug someone off for money. So I was like, I'm not doing it. So I just walked out the door.
I mean, fair play. I mean, I've come across a few recruiters because I guess in sort of accountancy and them sort of professional fields, you get them hitting you up all the time because obviously they get their commission on, you know. So I've worked with like a few, you know, in my time, but, you know, a lot of them, they'll find you maybe one job, but then they're so desperate to push that on you because that their commission's best for that. So they don't really want what's best for you. It's what's best for them, really.
So it's one of those things where I couldn't morally, it didn't align with me. I couldn't do it. And I was like, I can't see myself doing it. It doesn't matter how much I'm getting paid. And the reason I really liked the job in the beginning is because the guy who interviewed me, he said, well, our top sales guy's on 300K a year. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. That's a lot of money. That's more than the Prime Minister's on, I think. So I was like, yeah, sign me up. And then I negotiated my salary up and I was like, oh, this is always looking really promising. And then I just remember I was sat there at this desk with anxiety and I was literally getting depressed within the first day. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is not my energy right now. I don't want to be feeling these kind of emotions. And the people were just like, you know, talking bad about each other. And it was all like, who can outdo everyone? And I was like, I'm not, this isn't my vibe. So I just thought, well, do you know what? I'm going to leave. Before I did, I went to the toilet and took loads of toilet breaks and I found a job on Indeed and I applied for like loads of bar work. And that's when I got the bar work job like 2 days later.
One thing, mate, you might want to just move slightly closer. I've just got a sound bar at the side and it was just going quite low then.
Oh, what, this one, the mic?
Yeah, I'm sure you probably are fine. I can hear you absolutely fine, but just on the sound bar at the side, I can see, but it's absolutely fine.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that, to be fair. It's probably better now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably better, yeah.
No
so that takes a lot of balls, to be fair, because as well, most people just think of the money. Like, they're quite happy to do something they hate for 40 years, as long as the money's right, which... You know, I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure I've heard you talking about it, but do you know The Diary of a CEO? I'm sure you've listened.
Stephen Bartlett, yeah,
definitely,
I do.
Yeah, massive inspiration. But have you seen the one with Jimmy Carr on? Honestly,
I think I have.
I'll send you the link to, you know, I'm not massively into him, you know, or anything like that. But because he's a comedian, he's so articulate. And he said something like, how much to give up on your life. Like, most people come out of uni. I saw
that clip.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
honestly,
I've seen that clip.
So some of the stuff that he was coming out on that podcast was sort of quite life-changing in terms of just the way like society thinks of stuff in general.
But you know what? It's so true. Imagine now, right? Everyone watching at home, you have got 1 day left. You've got 24 hours left on planet Earth. And someone says, I'll trade that 24 hours that you've got for $1 million. Would you do it? Now, there's going to be some smart asses in the comments saying, well, yeah, I would, and I'd give it to my family. Fair enough. That's fair play. If you do that, absolutely. But realistically, if you're at a job you hate or you're doing something you dislike in your life, you would not trade your last 24 hours on planet Earth for £1 million. You'd probably want to spend it with your family. You'd probably want to spend it doing something you love or doing a hobby, reading, going back to basics, just being as a human being. That's why we're human beings, you know? You wouldn't want to do it doing something you just don't believe in. So that's why I can't understand why people trade their most limited commodity, which is time, their most valuable one, for the one that's unlimited. Money's everywhere. You can literally get as much money as you want, regardless of your beliefs. You can still earn as much as you want. You just got to be able to believe you can do it. And that's why I was like, do you know what? It doesn't matter how much I'm getting paid because I'm not trading my most valuable commodity for any money.
Definitely. And one thing I used to say to people that I worked with, I'd ask them this question, which, you know, I sort of just came up with it randomly, but if you could click your fingers now and it'd be the end of the day, so you can't remember any of it, but it's 5 o'clock, you're coming home, would you do it? And everyone was like, yep, straight away. I'd get rid of my work day straight away. And I was thinking, so you're willing to wish every single day away, you know, 5 days of your week away just for, you know, just so you could have an easy life. And I was just like, that was crazy to me that like, I was the same. If you had said to me at the start of the day, would you click your fingers now and it'd be the end of the day, like the end of the work day, would you do it? I'd probably be like, yeah, straight away. But that's absolutely, that was just mental that people are willing to do that with the time, which is probably one of the reasons why I just left and thought this isn't for me.
100%. And
but Sorry.
That's the way. No, that's all right. I was going to say that's the way society is kind of like wired up. It's you know, schools designed to create workers. As much as that might offend some people, it's just the truth. Like, I'm not saying I have the perfect answer, because it's a catch-22. Because, you know, we still need people to build the roads and you know, design things, and we you know, as a society, we need that, you know, in place, if you will. But some people would be better off following something they enjoy, because it would make the society a better place. So that's what it's kind of like trying to get to, is some people aren't destined to do certain jobs and some people are. So it's like, you know, just do what you enjoy, and then I think you'll find that everything around you will change very quickly.
Definitely. And I think jobs are so valuable. You learn how other businesses run, you get to meet other
100%. You
people.
learn on
Like,
company
I've
time.
learned so much from, yeah, definitely. You learn so much stuff. They're definitely worth doing. But I just don't think maybe for everyone that thing that, you know, you maybe do them for a little bit, take the skills and then apply them to your own, you know, your own ventures.
Your own ventures and learnings. Absolutely.
So in terms of you're doing the reselling, you're kind of enjoying it, but I guess the expenses are too high. So I saw
Yeah,
that first video when I think you maybe split with your girlfriend, you're living in the van, and
that's
you said,
right.
right, I'm getting rid of the unit and I'm going, you know, you had a bare van at this time, no carpet, micro,
That's
was
right.
it, what's it, a micro,
Micro camper.
micro camper, and you just thought, right, I'm going traveling around, I'm living. What was that feeling like? Because I watched it and I was like, I was kind of a little envious, like, oh, I wish I could do, even though don't really want to do that. I was a bit like, that is crazy that you're actually doing that.
I think the feeling for me was utter peace and freedom, because, you know, I'm one of those people, I don't like being tied down, and it was really sad the way things ended, but it was for the best, I think. And we both went our separate ways, and we stayed friends for a bit, but it's really hard to stay friends with someone that you're connected to. So now we don't speak anymore, but she helped me and she pretty much saved my life more than once. So I do owe her a lot, really. But we were just in a toxic relationship that wasn't working out. I really hated my life the way it was. My content wasn't what I wanted it to be, and people were trying to put me in a box of, okay, you're known for reselling, don't you step out of that box. And I was like, well, I don't want to be put in a box, so I'm going to. And then once I left all that behind, all the beliefs, all the losing followers, everything, I just kind of really like flourished and started to just, you know, fly and succeed, really. And then I was just really excited because I was finally doing something for me, you know. So I think that's it. When you find that thing, it doesn't matter, you don't have to justify it to anyone, you just got to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it takes, as I said again, like, it takes another load of balls to actually, you know, I guess although you were self-employed, like packing that in where you actually had sort of, I guess it was still trading time for money to an extent, but
Absolutely.
you still had a steady income coming in with that, and then to just totally think, right, I'm packing that off, and you know,
And just
how
take a
was
bet
it?
on me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How was that? Because I saw you had like £10 to your name, and you travelled up to Scotland, and you're just living in the van. What did that feel like? What was the idea behind it? Really, what was the end goal?
So the kind of story, I'll give a bit of context into it. I don't want to waffle too much about my story, but once I left Reading, I had a bit of money left in the bank, and then I came back to Exeter, and then I was like, okay, I need to fix my van before I go off on my ventures and stuff. I'm going to I was going to basically make a bit of money reselling again to just clear debts and just pay everyone off and get myself set and fix the van. So that's what I did. I did an Operation Hustle. If anyone wants to see, that's on my YouTube channel. That was like the last proper bit of hustle I did, and that made enough money to essentially fix the van up, pay off my debts that I had with people, and be ready to go. So then I set off for Scotland to go and meet Northview Customs that converted my van. More on that later. And then I ended up meeting another influencer up there. But I set off to the lakes first, near where you are, actually.
Yeah.
Was it the lakes? No, I didn't.
I don't
set
know.
off to York first.
I did see at one point you're in the lakes. Yeah.
That's right. I set off to York first to see one of my friends, and then I stayed there for a few days. And then her and I set off to the lakes. And then the money that I used for the lakes was my last YouTube paycheck, which was like, I think, 250 quid. So I spent all of that at the lakes. And then I put the rest of that paycheck in the tank to get me from York to Scotland. So that's basically when I got to Scotland with £10 to my name, because I obviously had a bit of fuel left. But I remember getting to Glencoe near the Highlands. No, it wasn't the Highlands. It was in the sort of near Glasgow, actually, I think it is. So bad on my geography, man. And then I was there with £10 and I was like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a way of making this work. But the feeling I had of just being like, okay, there's no money in my bank account. Don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know what the plan is other than making content and having fun. You couldn't put a price on it because I was completely free. And like, if the van broke down, so be it. I'll just figure it out, you know. But I just had trust and belief in myself. I told my mum that I was leaving and setting off to Scotland with literally no money. And she was almost having a panic attack, you know, like parents do. You can't set off with that. What are you going to do for food? And I'm like, I'll just figure it out. It will be fine. And I just trusted myself. And because I put so much belief in myself, it did. It worked out.
Definitely. I mean, I would say I'm quite a risk taker, but I don't even know if I would. I probably wouldn't even go to them sort of lengths. So fair play. But how
Fair
was
play.
that experience? Because I was watching your TikToks at the time, and it did seem really cool, like a really inspiring journey. But I'm sure the reality at the start, when you've no sort of heating, what was the reality like living in car parks? What was that sort of?
Still super exciting because I just remembered how terrible my life was before and how unhappy I was and miserable. And I thought, you know what? No amount of cold, no amount of negative comments or anything can drag me down right now because I knew where I wanted to go. And I also knew that, I had this potential deal with Northview Customs that were going to hook me up. I was expecting offcuts and things, but they ended up doing like a full on job on my van on a whole day. And the work probably totaled just a shy of, I reckon, 2K. And they didn't charge me a penny. They bought me lunch. The company owner, Callum, was an absolute legend. Their family were amazing, and they were just really nice people. That he saw something in me, and he was like, "I just want to help this person," and he had more resources than me, so he did. And that's it. Like, if you can pay that forward, if someone ever helps you, pay it forward. And I'm forever grateful because once I had my carpet and my insulation, everything, my van life took a whole new turn for the best, really, because I was, comfy, warm, and then the content took off, and that's when like I really started doing some, some stuff on socials, and everything started clicking a little bit.
Definitely. So was your plan to like I guess pursue the content? Was that the business that you were like, you're right, I'm going to
That was
do
the
this and
plan.
I'm going to document it, and or was that a
Yeah.
side thought? Or
No,
so
no,
that was
that
the
was
plan.
that was going to be
plan.
the income. The income was I'm going to blow my TikTok up. Sorry, my TikTok up. That's really hard to say. And then just make money from my social media. And I was making a bit before I set off for Scotland. I was making about 50 quid a month, I think, and a little bit from YouTube, as I said. But the YouTube slowed down because I started focusing on TikTok more. And yeah, that's pretty much where the money came from, really.
Definitely. What sort of when you went with £10 to Scotland? What sort of level of followers and were you at this
Yeah,
stage?
I think I had between 50 and 70,000, I want to say, on TikTok. I can't remember exactly where. No, I had 50,000 in Reading because that's when I got my first deal with Jackery. That wasn't paid, by the way. That was just, they sent me the Jackery, the battery and the solar panel for free for exchange for some videos. And then I think I had 50,000 then. So I must have had, yeah, I reckon maybe 70 or 80,000 followers, I think, on TikTok, something like that.
I mean that's still amazing, but I guess it's, as you said, it's not enough to earn a living. So
I
it's
wasn't
still,
making
yeah.
really anything because the Creator Fund does, I'm sure, I don't know if you're in it, but it doesn't pay all that well.
Yeah, I've earned about £2.50, £3
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
So it's
I think
not,
I earn
yeah.
30 or 40 quid a month, maybe 50 tops, right? So it's not going to pay the bills. So brand deals was what I was relying on. Or the other thing that got me going, and this is something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, is when I had that £10 note in my bank account. I remember doing a story on Instagram and just sharing it with people. And I think I did a reel as well, and some other TikTok content. And I just put myself out there, not expecting anything. And all my friends and some of my followers were like, set up a PayPal page. And I was refusing because I was like, I don't want help. I can do this by myself. But I set it up, the donations page on PayPal, and a few very kind people donated. And I think in about 48 hours, I must have generated 150 quid or just shy of £200. And that's the money that basically got everything going. That's what allowed me to put diesel in my van again, put food on the table, and just survive until I got to Northview. And then, I made a bit more content. But that pretty much that month and the next one in Scotland, I pretty much survived solely on donations. So I'm very grateful for everyone because content was not paying the way.
If we like, for me, this will be very useful. But in terms of like
Yeah.
when someone's sort of getting going with content, what would you advise? You seem to have built like a very, although you're pretty big on TikTok and stuff, there's definitely huge, like there's a lot bigger creators. But I'd say with your audience, they seem very, very engaged, and they're really following along for that journey every
Thanks, mate.
video.
Do you know what? It's all about value, and I think it's all about documenting and sometimes creating 100%. But like, I like what Gary Vee says, it's documenting your journey. You're being an authentic human. Don't try and fake it till you make it. You need an element of that in yourself to believe in yourself, but people want authentic stuff. They're kind of bored of seeing the same old, rubbish that people put out about flexing money and flexing cars and flexing stuff and pretending, because you can just see straight through it. And the saddest thing for those people is once that's all kind of gone, they've got nothing to kind of, have the backbone. It's disappeared. So if you're starting content, do it in something that you believe in, that you like and you enjoy. And all I will say is be careful what you wish for, because the bigger you get on social media, the more hate that comes with that. And if you're not prepared for it, just understand that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to not feel okay with what people say to you. Because if you get hate a couple of times on a video here and there, if you're a smaller creator, it's cool. But when you get it magnified 10 times over every day, it can really toll with people's mental health. So if you're not ready for that, just take a step back and you can always come back to it. Like I took months off at a time and nothing changed, nothing disappeared. So just keep that in mind.
How do you, I guess, hold yourself accountable, whether that be obviously content's your main business? How do you, now you're self-employed, you're working for yourself, how do you keep yourself, I guess it's quite easy to become, I guess, lazy, especially with that, with the editing side, it can get quite tedious. So how do you, I guess, hold yourself accountable so you are, I guess, still producing at that sort of level?
I'm still trying to learn that because I very much lost myself a lot of times trying to do too much. It's not about volume with content. In the beginning it is. The more you post out, the more you're going to learn what you need to do, but it's all about quality and it's all about enjoyment. I think you need to have a balance between quality content for your audience that they want to see, and you also need to make quality content for your soul, because if you don't make content for you, eventually you're going to end up hating it. And I found that I got to a point where I didn't care anymore. I didn't want to do social media anymore. I actually wanted to give up and just pack it all in and go take a job, because I couldn't take the hate. I couldn't take the not making any money out of this. And I felt like I was being, I don't know, taken advantage of by myself for doing all this stuff for free. But I was like, hang on a minute. When I really, and then that's when I watched my older videos and was like, why did I start all this in the first place? And I was like, I did this to help people and produce content that wasn't out there. So if you enjoy what you post and what you do, it won't feel like work. You'll just enjoy it. But as you grow, I think it's smart, if you want to take this like big time, is build a team of people around you. And that's my next step. Hiring an editor and maybe hiring a videographer to level up the content, because I'm not very good at those things. I've obviously built an audience, but they're not my strengths. My strengths are doing the crazy things and taking massive risks. And if I've got someone that's amazing with camera and amazing at editing, the content production goes up massively. And it's all about providing value for your audience. That's what I think.
Definitely. That's what I've learned. Like, I'm trying to do that, as we spoke about before. I'm trying to do that early on, because I'm the same as you. I can do this stuff, but it isn't my strength. And I obviously want to focus on the business side. But after this call, if you want, I can give you my editor's, details, and he'll be editing this now and watching this. So he's as he said, he's the same as us. He's literally just left his job to become a full-time videographer. So he's just at that early stages, based in Scotland. So if you want me to give you his details, he's looking for new work.
Much appreciated.
So that might be a good. If he'll be watching this back now when he's editing, like later on, and he'll I guess he'll appreciate the the mention. But so when you're doing this content, just in terms of, obviously this is a little cheeky, but in terms of the monetary value of sort of brand deals, all this side of stuff, just so people have a bit of an insight into, I guess, what some creators are earning from the business. What would you say on this?
Again, I talk about my income quite a lot, so I don't mind it. And I do know what I say, balls off to you for asking the question, because I struggle asking people about their income, but fair play. I would say the thing that I've learned is, I used to say to people, just focus on TikTok. And I think now it's about balance. And what I would say my strategy is going forward is, I'm going to film YouTube videos and get them chopped up similar to what you're doing, and use that for TikTok, and still create day in the life videos, but from the YouTube content, because that's more evergreen and YouTube is far more sustainable. So YouTube is probably the best way to build a sustainable income online from content, in my opinion. Now, Creator Fund isn't going to pay you all that much. Like I said, probably like 50 quid a month tops. Some people do a lot better than that, but you need to be getting millions and millions of views to do that. You can do quite well out of the live streams, but again, I personally don't want to be seen as a beg, or as, just doing it for the gifts, because that's not the idea here. So I do live streams because I enjoy them and I like to provide value and, speak to my audience and get to know them. But the brand deals is probably where a lot of the bulk of the money is. And it all comes down to the person. So not, you won't get paid the same as I will, as same as I won't get paid the same as someone else. It's all about what you can bring to the table and how you can deliver that value to the brand. Because at the end of the day, if you can't sell anything, the brand doesn't want to work with you. But one of my best brand deals was, I think, just shy of like 4K for one video. So that gives people an idea.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like nearly 4K for, how was that, like sort of was that a YouTube video?
I think it was. No, it was a TikTok video. I think it was
oh
like
my God,
30 seconds or a minute.
That's crazy. I was watching a podcast the other day, and like some of the in the finance niche, some of the money there is crazy. And someone was getting paid 7K for a video, to 10K a video.
Do you know what I would say though? Is that's drop in the ocean, because I know creators making a lot more than that from one video. I know people that are making like 30 to 50K per brand deal per video per TikTok. 30 to
I mean,
50k. That's like more than someone's yearly salary. I'm not saying that to flex or anything, by the way, because I think at the end of the day, like, I'm very grateful for all this money. But the other thing I'll say is I've struggled with income because it's not very sustainable. So I have a brand manager now, and they basically focus on the brand side of things for me. But that brand deal I spoke about, I landed that one by myself. They approached me, and then I negotiated my rates, and they came in very cheap, actually, a lot less than that. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And it was about 3 months back and forth via email before we ended up sealing the deal. And then it took, I think, 4 or 5 revisions. So I had to do the video 4 or 5 times. So it wasn't like, I did one video and got paid that. It was actually a lot more work involved, but it's still an insane amount of money for just a video. So it's very possible.
I think that's where, from listening to bigger creators, they all have these brand managers, because it can be very hard to, I guess, negotiate your own pay rates when you're the person, whereas a brand manager can do that on your behalf. And it seems a little bit, I guess, different from you just asking for more money.
It's knowing what you're worth. I think if any creators are looking out there to do brand deals, just know your worth, and brands are willing to pay for it. And if they're not, then it's probably not the right brand to work with, because they're going to make 10 times on what they're paying you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying you in the first place. Influencer marketing is very, very powerful. The thing is, brand deals pay you a bit, a considerable amount of money, but the money is in building your own business. Because if you look at people like The Rock, people like who's the other guy, the Conor McGregor fighters, they've built a massive audience, and they are selling directly to their audience. They're like, I think The Rock's whiskey brand now is worth a fortune because he has the audience. And recently, someone tried to buy Mr. Beast's YouTube channel for, was they offering $1 billion? I think it was.
Yeah,
and he said no,
definitely.
10 to 20 billion. It's because it's not just the value of his YouTube channel, it's the value of his audience. He's built that, and they're people that are ready to spend money on Mr. Beast because they are so, ingrained in his ecosystem. So it's all about that. It's you can't put a price on that, and that's where brands, I think, go a little bit wrong. They just try and spend a bit of money, but it's not the exchange of money. It's how much that audience is worth to someone.
It seems like, obviously, I run a marketing agency, and it just seems like once you've got that audience, honestly, any business you can sort of make succeed, because you've got that audience who are engaged, that are loyal, and that are willing to, engage with whatever business you're going into.
100%.
So it seems like,
as you know, Josh, like, sorry to butt in, I'll just say one more thing and then I'll let you do some talking because I've been waffling here for ages.
No.
Build a loyal audience. Like, building a following is very different to building a loyal audience. Like, it's taken me 4 years to do this. TikTok, it was literally a case of a year, literally, I didn't really do anything. And then sort of 3 or 4 months, it all blew up. But it's because all of those 3 other years of experience with YouTube and the first bit of TikTok started to like mesh together. And actually all those skills started to work, in tandem with each other to make it succeed. But now I have a far better business than if I just built something for the views and it's not worth anything to anyone, and I put all that time and effort into that. So build something for the long term.
Definitely. As I said, you seem to have a very, very loyal, engaged following. So, you've built it slowly, and you definitely, by going on them lives every single day, you put in that time in to get to know your audience, which a lot of creators don't do. And a lot of them sell out too early. That, they sell out in general. They'll do any brand deal for any amount of money. Just they'll sell the followers, whether that's some dodgy cryptocurrency or whatever it may be. Like, the only stuff that you've actually done branded work with is things that you actually use for your van life. So
100%.
I mean, you've done well there to not. I'm sure you've probably had more deals that have come across come across the table that you've turned down.
You got to. It's like, I'm not here to just, obviously, I've still got to get paid as a creator. It's my livelihood. I need to make an income, but I'm not here to rip anyone off, because there's enough people on the internet doing that. And that's the whole reason I thought I'd come into this space and just shed some light on it and just come at it from a different approach. And I will say, the people that succeed the best in content and, online, if you will, are the ones that stick at it for the longest and the ones that are real. Like, Gary Vee's been doing content for years and years and years, and look at him now. Anyone, I'm trying to think of other big creators that we might know. PewDiePie, KSI, Logan Paul, all these people have been doing it for years and years and years. And someone else that's really big in the business space, you probably know who he is, Bia Hezza. Do you know Bia Hezza is?
Yeah.
Bia Hezza. He didn't necessarily take a long time to blow up on his YouTube channel, but he'd been doing content for 7 years prior. So he had all that experience editing, all of that came in again to work together for him to blow up. And I mean, look at him now. He's making serious money, but he's not been a sellout. He's not like promoted a load of rubbish like a lot of people do.
Definitely. He's very entertaining as well. Like for a business video anyways, he's got a great personality that he brings across on them videos, which, he's definitely killing it in sort of the business space. I don't know if you know who else is there. Iman Gaji, do you know? Have you come across
I do.
Marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's earning that much money from his other ventures. He doesn't need to do any brand deals or that sort of thing, even though he could do, he could definitely be
100%.
maximizing that. But so in terms of your plan going forward, is it TikTok, YouTube? Where do you see sort of the future moving in terms of, I guess, social medias?
I think definitely YouTube is my next big play, because I think, again, I grew up following on TikTok pretty quickly, and I managed to. I think the thing is, I basically dived head into TikTok, and I was like, right, I want to like learn this inside out. How can I just blow up on it? How can I figure it out? So I spent literally every day scrolling and just basically like being part of the game. And then I learned how to play the game, and I was like, okay, cool, I've mastered this. But I want to really go over to YouTube, because long form content is still kind of there. I thought it was dying down. It's still there. And then YouTube Shorts is pretty good still, but AdSense is far more sustainable than brand deals. And then once I'm sustaining, a more sustainable income every month from AdSense, then I can start branching out to more brand deals and start charging more, because I'll have a bigger audience. And YouTube does get paid more from brand deals too.
Definitely. I think I was the same as you. My initial thought was, when I left my job, I was going to start this business and get on with the TikTok, because I saw, people like you and blowing up on TikTok. I thought, right, I'm going to focus on TikTok. But then now I'm sort of a month in, I just see the potential with YouTube. I would much rather make long format content that actually adds value than a 30-second clip that no one remembers. Yeah. So I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on YouTube, because, YouTube's owned by Google, second biggest search engine. There's talks out there, TikTok could eventually get banned in the US, as, YouTube Shorts are now going to start getting paid for. It just seems like everything seems to be moving towards YouTube in terms of
100%.
And
Don't put your eggs all in one basket. Absolutely. I think it's good to diversify. Like, same as Instagram. People kept saying Instagram's going to die. I think Instagram now is more of like a social credibility platform. The more followers you have, the more, credible you are as a person.
Definitely. And I think as well with YouTube is, although there's now the YouTube Shorts, I just think long format content is just so much more valuable. Like, when you say to people, have you remembered the last 5 TikToks? No one can remember them. It's whereas, you watch one YouTube video, I could tell you exactly what I've watched in the last week on YouTube, who I follow, all
and
that sort of stuff.
And it sticks with you, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I think, although the views aren't, by doing things like this podcast, the views aren't maybe as good as they could be. But I think the people are actually watching all of it is hopefully providing some sort of value to them.
Well, you've seen Diary of a CEO, and like what he says, it's all about the impact, really, because when you tie the money aside and leave it to one side, if you will, it's all about what difference are you making in the world. Because once you get to a certain level of money, that's great, but it's not going to change anything. And then you're like, what's next? So I think that's the thing for me. It's been the struggle. It's like toying with earning enough money, because I'll happily admit I'm in debt at the minute. I'm in my overdraft, like many hundreds of pounds over. I'm just taking a massive risk on myself still, because I know that the money will come when it's meant to come. And it's I just don't want to do content for the wrong reasons. I think that's why I always have this, okay, I need to take a step back to make sure that I'm still doing it for the right reasons.
Definitely. And so in terms of, you've done sort of, I guess, have you done nearly a year of van life now? Is it coming up to a year?
Coming up to a year.
So you've had some crazy adventures, mainly in the UK, it seems. What are your sort of plans going forward? I've seen some sort of talks. Are you selling the van, or what's the plan?
The van's going soon in the next couple of months. I'm not sure exactly when, but the plan is to sell the van and then just go literally all out in my YouTube channel and just do some really crazy kind of content. I'm not going to share too much on it, because I don't exactly know yet. Yeah. But there's some cool stuff coming up, I think. And I think backpacking might be on the cards. Just go and get lost again for a little bit to go and find myself. That's what I like doing, that. Going off the beaten track a little bit.
Definitely. I think that'd be a good shout. And even just sort of, I guess you're the same as me. We love a challenge. So even sort of, I guess, travel sort of, someone that I'd definitely advise you to watch if you haven't watched them. Have you come across Simon Wilson?
I think I have, yeah.
He's done. You honestly, I think you would fit exactly into. He's probably my favorite creator out there, and he does challenges like no money challenges. So he went to New York with absolutely no money, and then he went all the way. So it took him 45 days all the way across the US with no money. So he went to LA, and that was with zero money. It was all just people helping him out along the way, sneaking on buses, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen this guy before.
I mean, it's just. Like, I used to watch them videos like a couple of years ago, and I was just like, this is mad, this guy's doing this, it's because at the start, I think he had about 5K or 10K when he was doing this. And I was just like, that takes a lot of balls to, you've not even got a huge following behind you where you're going to get paid, or you're going to get support to actually go out there. It's similar to you in terms of the, when you had no money and you didn't have like an absolutely huge following to just pack it all in and go with it.
Do you know what? I think that's it. It doesn't really matter about whether you've got a following or not. I think it's just about following your dreams. And I think when you get to the end of your life and you're on your deathbed and you're talking to yourself, the last thing on your mind you want is regrets. And I think that is far more important to scratch that itch now than it is to wait until the end of your life and go, what if I'd done that? Because that is terrifying. So I think, well, do you know what? If I lose all of my money tomorrow, if my van goes, say, like people always ask me, what happens if you crash it or it gets stolen? If someone stole my van, all of my money disappeared. And as long as I got my content gear, I'd continue and just be like, I'm not starting from zero, I'm starting from experience, and you can get that all back very quickly. But time, spend it once, it's gone forever.
Definitely. I think too many people live with too many regrets.
Yeah.
Definitely. So in terms of, I've seen a lot of your content has sort of changed to the sort of the spiritual awakening side of things. So I don't know if you want to talk about this briefly. I'm interested in terms of, I massively believe in being open-minded, law of attraction, all this sort of stuff. I've heard you talk about law of vibration, all this side of things, which if you want to just, I'm interested to learn a bit about this.
So I won't dive into it crazy amount because we don't have sort of concrete questions to answer, but spirituality as a whole, we're all spiritual people, the third eye, as people talk about it, and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's different. We've all got kind of different levels of skill and different level of awareness, but the key thing here is awareness. So whatever your subconscious is thinking about that you obviously don't know about is how your life is panning out. So we all vibrate at different frequencies and things like that. And things like fear, anger, I say fear, anger. What's the other one? I can't remember. But the lower sort of frequencies, if you will, they vibrate lower. So you can't attract as much stuff into your life. But when you're feeling things like peace, love, joy, happiness, you'll find that better things come into your life. And everything we already want is already here. It's just not reached us yet because we haven't got to that level of conscious. When I say level of conscious, it's like questioning things. So why is society the way it is? Why are we told to go to school? Why, just why? And I've spent my whole life questioning everything. Why is money the way it is? And the more I dived into it, the more it started to happen. And then when I went through this awakening, it's kind of like, basically, it's not like anything happened. It's not like a third eye developed on my face or anything. I just kind of came to this other level of conscious. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I've been a people pleaser my whole life. Now I can learn to just say no. I don't have to give an explanation. I just say no to people and it's fine. And they respect it because I'm respecting myself. And a lot of people might empathize with this and understand that, a lot of people put other people first before their own needs. That's cool. It's nice to do things for people, but not at the expense of your own happiness and well-being. If you're doing something for someone else because you feel like you have to do that rather than you want to do that, that's doing something with an expectation attached. So yeah, that's kind of like it as a whole. But law of attraction is one thing to obviously attract things to your life, but without law of vibration in place as well, you're not going to be able to attract the right things to you. So it's learning about that, and the higher to raise up your vibration, you need to let go of fear, let go of anger, let go of guilt, those kind of lower vibrations. And when you let go, you can start to rise up. There's a guy I watched called Aaron Doughty, and he explained it very well. It's like a cork in water. Rather than trying to like force it to go up, if you just let it go, it floats. And that's the same as you. So when you stop getting involved in negativity and all this other rubbish, and you start seeing positive and you start doing things for you that you want to do, your vibration increases, and then you can manifest easier. And manifestation, I don't know if you've seen, but the CIA have documents on it. It's very real, and that's why that's not taught in school, because it's a very powerful thing. And I think I've manifested my dream life. So I believe in it.
Yeah, I massively believe in sort of, manifesting, law of attraction, all that side of things. I think what a lot of people do, though, is they manifest this stuff, but they never put anything into action. So it always takes that first...
You've got to take action too.
Definitely. It always takes that first, risk, which a lot of people say, that they know in the head what the dream life is, but they just don't do anything. They don't do that middle bit, that hard work in between to actually, I guess, get there. But I've just noticed from, I love talking to people. I'll speak to people about anything. You never know what's going to come of a conversation. And I've said this on sort of the last podcast, in the gym the other day, speaking to a random guy, ended up being a business owner, managed to go for a meeting with them about the market inside of, my business. And it's just like that sort of stuff that's crazy, from just the gym speaking to a random person. And I just think a lot of people aren't open to them sort of possibilities. Like they would just sit there and just nothing would come of it. It would just...
Absolutely. It's doing one. Obviously you can't do one without the other, but going back to what you said about, people in general, no one is better than anyone. We're all the same. No one's special. Doesn't matter if you're talking to a CEO, if you're talking to a prime minister, you obviously got to change your language slightly, but they're no better human than you are. And when you learn that and you don't put people on pedestals, I think you'll find that your life gets a lot better and a lot more successful in a way, because they're not expecting you to treat them a certain way. So I just treat company directors, CEOs, brand managers, the people I talk to, the same as I talk to like yourself, or I talk to my family, or I talk to anyone really. And it's a lot better because they connect with me more because I'm being me.
Definitely. I think at the end of the day, everyone's got external hobbies, interests, everything like that. So if you just go into a meeting and you start, you start talking about something. Like I was in a meeting literally on Wednesday with some business owners to do with my marketing stuff. We started talking about YouTube. I was saying I was doing the podcast, all this sort of stuff as well. And they're talking to me about they're interested in drop shipping, all this sort. And these are like sort of very traditional business owners. And then we got onto a massive sort of business rant, and it's just like you can always connect with people on any topic. There's whoever they are, they've always got external interests, and they're just normal people at the end of the day that have managed to get to some level of success.
100%. And going on to success is completely different for everyone. It's not just money, big bank account, and fancy cars and stuff. It can be just being happy. Like success is literally whatever you want it to be. So don't let anyone else tell you that success has to be a certain way, because it's not true.
Definitely. I think if you speak to, say, my nana, she would literally say, I'm the richest person alive because... Sorry, did that just go off?
Just died, so that's all right. We'll crack on with this one.
Oh, right. Okay, no problem. So yeah, as I was saying, like if I speak to my nana, she'll say I'm the richest person alive, even though she's not very rich at all, just because she's got family, friends. Like, there's so much more to it than just money, definitely. And I couldn't care, although I need to earn a living, I couldn't care less what I'm on, because every day I'm actually enjoying what I do.
And that's it. If you're happy, can't put a price on it.
Definitely. So we'll just go on to a final sort of, I guess, couple of questions. So in terms of legacy, is that important to you? Is that something you believe in? Is there something you're striving for? Like, do you want to leave some sort of message behind?
It was, and I think from an ego point of view, this is where the spiritual stuff comes into it. It's more about letting go of your ego and just being more as a human being, just being basically, and not trying to force things. I always wanted to leave a legacy, and now it's more like, actually, all I want to do is just be myself and live my life, and that will have an impact. You don't have to do monumental, crazy things in the world to leave a huge impact. Literally, just being nice to someone else can have a knock-on effect. Smiling at someone else could literally mean that someone else is having a bad day. You smile at them, they might have a good day. They might spread that to someone else, and that can have a massive knock-on effect in the whole world. So yes and no. I think like I said, from a selfish standpoint, absolutely. But as a whole, it's just doing my bit on planet Earth, really.
Definitely. And then in terms of what do you see for your future then? So the next few years, you're obviously going to be concentrating on the content, travel, all this side of things. What do you see going forward? If you saw yourself in 10 years, obviously it does change, but what would you see yourself doing?
Do you know what? I think it's just keep raising my level of conscious, keep raising that vibration, and just keep sharing positivity with the world. Keep challenging myself. Because like yourself, I like a challenge. I think, things like public speaking, I wouldn't dream of going on a podcast about 3 years ago. I wouldn't dream of, eventually I want to go on like a stage and maybe do some sort of like talk or something. That would be really fun, challenging, travel lots, and just keep creating the content and just keep doing my thing, because I think when you're yourself, when you're doing your thing, you're in your element, everything else around you takes care of itself.
Definitely. Do you see yourself settle down with family, kids, all that, or is that something too far in the future you can't really comprehend at the moment?
I think the idea for me settling down is giving up on myself. And I'm not saying that is having a wife and children, by the way. Settling down for me isn't going to be a thing. I think eventually I'll have to be sensible and be like, okay, I might have to get a house, but that won't necessarily be like, okay, we're going to live here for this amount of years and plan the picket white fence. That's not really how my life is going to go, I don't think. Whether I have kids or not, I don't know. But I think for me, it's like I said, meeting the right people and then just letting life take care of itself, and then whatever happens, happens.
Definitely. I think I've watched some of your videos about sort of the girlfriends, all that side of things as well. But I do think if you find the right person, like me and my girlfriend been together like 7 years. Honestly,
Nice.
we've been best friends since like 11. So if you find that right person that's, I guess, supportive, and, I could literally go and say I'm doing, even if it, I guess, negatively impacts her, like, me quitting my job, I've got less money at the start to go and do stuff. But she was very, on side. And, I think if you find the right person that, puts like, I guess, your needs in terms of, your happiness above sort of maybe like seeing each other and all that side of things, I think you'll be, I think once you find the right person, you'll know, definitely.
I agree with that. But I will also say that I also think that I don't know how much I believe in monogamy anymore, but I think that you're not necessarily meant to be just with one person. I think I've learned a lot from relationships in general, and there's a lot in the world to experience. I'm not saying you should go and sleep around or anything. That's not what I'm saying here, but keep an open mind. Someone might be your person for a period of time, but when it gets to a point and it's like, it's not going anywhere, you're not being the right person for them either. It's really, in my opinion, mean and horrible to hang on to that person out of fear of not finding someone better. So I think that's how I've played my life out. If it gets to a point where it's like that, I'm not being the person I need to be to them anymore. That's not fair. I can't just keep them there for the sake of it. I let people go, and then I kind of just take life as I find it. So I might find a forever after, but I don't know, mate. I've just taken it as I find it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
But
different for
I also
everyone.
agree with what you said. If you meet that special someone, I'd 100% go for it, 100%.
I mean, I could not meet someone who's as supportive. Like we're so, I mean, we have gone through hard times. You know, when she went to uni and stuff, it was not easy, and I guess we probably were like, I guess, negative impacts in terms of, you know, I probably resented her for, you know, going away and doing this sort of life without me and all that side of things. But now that we're back sort of together and we're living that sort of same life, there's no problems. We're very supportive of each other, and you know, I don't really see us in the future, you know, ever, you know, splitting up or anything like that. But it's different for everyone. I mean, everyone has different opinions on this, and 100%. Some people, you know, some of my friends would be like, "How are you with one person?" You know,
this is it. I think it's keeping an open mind to it and doing what you think is right, because someone else can tell you that monogamy is not real. Someone can tell you monogamy is real. That's just their opinion. I think you've just got to follow what you think is right.
I mean, I think it's definitely, you know, I think there is obviously that sort of traditional element, but then I look at sort of my grandparents, all this sort of stuff, and they were together, you know, 70 years, and they're still just as happy when they were sort of, you know, when, you know, my granddad passed away and all that side of things. But I definitely think in today's culture, it's a lot harder with social media. That sort of, it's not the same era, definitely not.
Well, Tinder's literally just a buffet for, you know, whatever you want, really, isn't it? In a grand scheme of things,
definitely.
So yeah, I agree.
Definitely. So then I was going to sort of say, how do you define, I guess, success? But you've already gone on to we've already, I guess, covered that in terms of, for you, it's not purely money. It's just, I guess, it's just living every day and having enjoying every day as it comes.
Doing something that challenges you every day, enjoying every day, like we said, and being proud of your achievements. I think sometimes as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to stop and be like, I did this, because you always want the next thing. Take a step back and be like, wow, I actually did this amazing thing, and celebrate it. Learn to celebrate the small wins, because the small wins equal the big wins. And there's always going to be another car. There's always going to be more money. There's always going to be, you know, another trip, another adventure, another piece of content. But that piece, that thing you did, just learn to celebrate it, because I need to tell that for myself too, because I never do.
Definitely. Final two questions. So what motivates you? Why do you work so hard? Like, you know, say once you get to that base level of income, or, you know, that way you're just ticking over, what motivates you to push past that and, you know, do what most people get to that sort of level and just think that's fine for me. What motivates you to?
I think it's actual boredom, because I was trying to think about this. I'm not the hardest worker in the room. I never really have been. I also try and find a balance between working hard and working smart. So I don't always work crazy hard. There's times I just don't do anything for weeks on end. If I don't need to, I don't do it. But I think it's boredom. I get to a point where I'm like, I'm bored now. Okay, I've had 2 weeks off. I literally need to do something. I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind. I find a lot of calm in chaos. So that's kind of how I work. Whether I retire one day, I don't know. But that motivates me. I think it's boredom.
I mean, I think for me personally, I'll never retire. Obviously, I'm not going to be working at full steam for the rest of your life, but I would always like to have some. I think it keeps you young. When you see them people that have straight away retired for nothing, you know, they go into sort of depression, all that side of things. I think them people that are, you know, the 70-year-olds that are still running businesses, still quite up to date on tech, everything, like they're the ones that are, I guess, I think sort of the happiest, really.
100%.
And then final question, really, we'll finish on this. What is sort of the meaning of life to you? We all die in the end. What is the meaning? You know, what's the point in all of this for you?
I think I can tie a bit of the spiritual into this. It's just, like I said, just trying not to force anything, experiencing everything we can here and raising your level of conscious, and being a kind, empathetic person towards others. So many people are money grabbers. So many people are out here for themselves. And when you kind of get to the end of your life, I think you'll regret doing that, because it's not going to mean anything. I think the meaning is being kind to others, spending time with loved ones, and doing things because you enjoy it. It doesn't matter how much money you make at the end of it. You could be a billionaire. No one's going to give a shit really at the grand scheme of things, and nor are you really. But if you get to the end of your life and you've done things you enjoy, and you've done things that you're proud of, and you've done things for the sake of just doing things because you wanted to give it a go, you'll be far happier. And that's what I think it is. It's just making the most of every moment.
Definitely, that's a really good way to it. We'll end it there, but as I say, I'll link all your stuff in the description, and I'm sure people are going to be coming across from your channels rather than as I say,
Do you know what?
I'm a lot.
We'll see.
Who knows in the future. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I'll link all your stuff, and if anyone hasn't watched any of your stuff, I'd definitely recommend go and watch some of them early videos, the van life stuff. It's really inspiring stuff.
Thanks, man.
But I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and giving up some of your time. All right, perfect. Thank you.